Hello everybody! I am so glad to be back in front of the camera. It has been a minute or two since I've been able to be here. May has just been a little bit of a hectic month for me. So I've still been reading, just haven't had a lot of time to be filming, editing, and interacting with the Booktube community, which has made me very sad. But as most of you know, I have really small children. They are involved in a lot of activities. I'm responsible for cleaning and feeding and keeping them all alive and keeping the house functioning, so I've been doing that. So June is thankfully slowing down a little bit, so I am going to today get caught up with the books I read end of April throughout May and chat a little bit about what I am working on now. My name's Talia. I love books. I love bandanas. I'm so glad you're at my channel today. Again, hi, how are you? It's been a while. Booktube is one of my favorite parts of life, and it makes me so sad when I don't have time to participate in it. And it's like one of those things I'm just like, okay, I want to film, I want to edit, but I'm like, oh, also like there's 4 loads of laundry right here. You know what I mean? So for me, it's always about just finding the balance, and I want to spend time on myself and want to spend time on doing things that make me happy, which is so important, especially coming out of Mental Health May. Like, it's so important to spend time on things that make me mentally healthy, which Booktube definitely does, but also there's only so many hours in the day. So balancing all of that is hard for me. Holler if it's hard for you too, anyone else out there having these struggles. Yeah, it's just tough. But I am finally feeling like I'm in a little bit of a space where I can take some time to film. So that's what I'm doing today. Kids are on quiet time. Cats are behaving themselves. So let's just start and talk about what books I've read. Some of these stretch back to April, because I haven't chatted about them on my channel, so I'm gonna kind of do a longer wrap up today. First, we're gonna talk about the audiobook I listened to recently, which I loved. Something in the Water by Catherine Steadman, and this one was recommended to me by Books and Beaches. I love her channel so much, and she did this like this whole video, I will link it below, on thrillers that are beachy, so thrillers that take place in a beach setting. And I love the beach. It's one of my favorite places in the world, and I love books that are taking place in that setting, and I've been kind of getting into more thrillers, so I was super curious about this. So Something in the Water was the first one she recommended, so I was able to get it on audiobook right away and start listening to it, and I really enjoyed it. So this book starts with this woman burying her husband. Like, that's the very beginning of the book. And then it pretty quickly flashes back to 3 months before, where she loves her then fiance. She loves him, everything's going great, and they're getting married. So the whole book, you're like trying to figure out, like, how did this go from I love you, everything's great, to 3 months later, I'm burying your body. And I just felt like that hook alone like kept me wanting to read and kept me wanting to see how it was going to progress. And everything in between was just done really well. I liked the settings. I like how she made you feel like you were there. I liked the twists and turns it had. Can't say too much because it's a thriller, but I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I actually just purchased another book by Catherine Steadman because I want to read more of her writing. So yeah, that one I really enjoyed. I also read, and this was, I think it was Agatha in April, wasn't it? I think so. This must have been an April read. The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I really liked this Agatha Christie. This was my 3rd Christie, and I actually enjoyed it more than And Then There Were None. I really liked it. Kept me guessing till the end. My jaw dropped a little bit at the end. I loved how it wrapped up. It was great. Great Agatha Christie. Loved it. Okay, Goodnight, Mr. Tom. I read this for FOMO Book Club. And I liked this as well. I didn't love it. This is historical fiction about a boy, and he is evacuated and ends up that he has been severely abused by his mother. So Mr. Tom, who he goes to live with, gets this kid who's like severely abused, malnourished, like has just not been treated well, and comes and lives in his house, and the story kind of goes from there. So definitely has some sad elements to it, but a really good heartfelt story. Definitely one I am glad I read. Michelle Magorian did a good job with this one, so that was good as well. Okay, this was one of my Misery May books because I did participate in Misery May, and it was also my real life book club pick for was it April or May? I don't remember. One of those months. So this Radium Girls is nonfiction. It's about these girls who worked in these like watch factories, and it was right about the time when radium became well known. It was discovered, and it was seen as like this miracle drug that could help you with all sorts of things and extend your life, and like was just amazing. And that's how it was like being advertised in the time. And these girls worked in this clock factory painting the dials of clocks, and they would dip the end of their brushes in like the radium and then like put it in their lips to make like a nice smooth point on it, and then like paint really delicately these clocks. Didn't know it at the time, but radium is actually extremely toxic, creates all sorts of problems, and these poor girls like started losing their teeth, and like chunks of their jaw were just like disintegrating and falling out, and like just all this internal damage. And like by the time they realized what had happened, like so many of these poor girls had been exposed to radium, and there was nothing really that could be done to save them, like no treatment at all. So they end up like trying to sue the companies, you know, and the companies are like, this isn't our fault. Radium could not have done this. There's no way. And even after the companies like knew that the radium was the problem, they like kept having these girls do the procedures the way they were doing them. So this book is crazy. This book is miserable. It's so sad, but a story that needs to be told, and a story that's really well written. It was, the one thing I will say is it was very long, very in-depth, and kind of tended to drag a little towards the end. And I actually listened to the full version of it. When I checked this out from the library, I realized I got the Young Readers edition, which actually I think maybe would have been better. Like some of the Young Readers editions, they're like a little bit edited just to cut out some of like the nitty gritty details to make them more like popular for younger readers, I guess. So I can't speak to what this is, but I know it's shorter than the one that I listened to. So yeah, definitely a story I recommend knowing about if you do not know about the Radium Girls. I think there's a movie about it as well, but yeah, just a very sad story. And the Radium Girls actually, like, through their lawsuits and through their fighting, they ended up being a big part in the reasons that we have, like, things like workman's comp today, and protection for workers, and workplace safety equipment, and the ability to know test results that are done on us, because they were testing these girls. The company was, like, testing these girls and seeing if they had radium in them, and then they would, and the company would just like hide the results and be like, oh no, nothing's wrong, everything's fine. Like, craziness, you guys. It was terrible. So yeah, really good. Definitely one I'd recommend to read. Okay, a little bit lighter. I read Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and this is a book that had been on my radar for a while. This Erin Morgenstern also wrote The Starless Sea recently, and that one's been kind of all the rage. And it was my friend Bandana's favorite book of last year, so I was like, okay, I have to give Erin Morgenstern a try. And it seems like this book is pretty polarizing. Like, going into it, people are like, oh, I love it, it's so atmospherical and just magical and like amazing, or people were like, I don't really get it, like this was weird, not for me. And I really loved it. I thought this was a great escape. It's definitely atmospherical. It definitely at times you're like, where is this going? So I can see how people would see that, and I can see how people would not like it for that reason. But it wasn't like it didn't have a point. Like, it was always going somewhere. I thought the way it ended was super creative, and like I liked how it wrapped up, and I thought this was a great read. So if you don't know, The Night Circus about this circus that only takes place at night, and it is the two main characters are actually competing with magic inside of this circus. So to the outside world, it doesn't seem like magic or real magic. It seems like just kind of like elements of like a mystery that people are experiencing in the circus, but really there's like magic behind it and like a deeper world going on. So I really liked it. I already purchased the Starless Sea. This was just a great escape in the midst of just life's chaos. This is one that I really enjoyed. So it's a 5-star for me for sure. Okay. Also, this was my pick for my In Life Book Club's book. Finlay Donovan is killing it. I'm sure you've heard of it if you've been around Booktube at all. Like, this one's been going around for a while. And this one kind of disappointed me a little. I was expecting more from like the hype that I have been getting about this book for like the past year. I was expecting more. So Finlay Donovan is killing it. Finlay is a writer. She, her husband has just left her. She's depressed. She has no money. She's really struggling. Her husband is threatening to take the kids. And she is having a meeting with her editor one day and laying down her plot line of this book that she's like having writer's block and not able to write, but she's like telling her how it's going to be this book about this murder that takes place, and she goes in and goes out and does a clean job and like just describing this murder plot. And as she's leaving, like this woman like gives her this note with like a name and an address on it and $50,000 written at the bottom, and it's like, call this number. And so basically, long story short, the woman thinks she's an actual hit woman and wants to pay her to kill her husband. So it kind of goes from there. Like, it sounds ridiculous, and it kind of was. Like, because then Finlay obviously decides that she's going to check into this guy, and it ends up getting deep into this web of being a hit woman. And it was funny. I would say it was funny. It was cute. Not really realistic. Like, things keep happening to, like, work out the way they need to work out. Like, the whole book, you're like, oh, what is gonna happen now? And then like this happens and you're like, oh, how convenient, you know what I mean? So I didn't love it because like it's one thing when you're reading The Night Circus, you know, and you're like, this is all magical, this is wonderful, I'm in a whole different world. It's another thing when you're like, this is not a magic book, you know what I mean? This is about like real situations, but you're like, oh, I don't think that could ever happen, you know what I mean? For me, it's just hard to like accept some of the things that happen in this book. As I was reading it, though, I didn't think I'd want to continue on, like, with the series, because there's a couple more books in the series, and up until the end, I was like, no, I won't continue on. But then the last line of the book, I was like, oh, no, I have to read the second one now. So I do think I will continue and read the second one, because I want to know what happens. And it was a fun enough, like, light enough read that it's summer, like, I probably will pick up the second one just to see where it goes. So, cute, not a 5-star by any means, but, yeah, it was cute. It was fun. Okay, not so fun. This book, you guys, so this was a part of Misery Me as well, because I had this on my shelf for a really long time. I had heard that it'll make you feel miserable, and it did make me feel miserable, but I don't think the way that it was, like, supposed to. Like, this was my first Jodi Picoult book, and I just did not like it. Like, it was okay. Like, it was okay, but it was told from the point of view of a lot of different characters. Like, a lot. And it just kind of jumped around a lot, and there was a couple of different timelines that it was jumping around, and it really, I had a hard time connecting to any of the characters. Like, all of them, I was like, I can see where you're coming from, like, but I don't really care, and I can see where you're coming from, but And, like, the main person that this centers around, so we have this girl, and she has leukemia. She's had it since she was, like, the age of 3, and her younger sister has been conceived in order to be a perfect donor for her, in order to give her originally just cord blood, and then like some blood cells, and then a bone marrow transplant, and now it's like a kidney transplant they need to save her life. And this younger sister has always like been the donor, and now she is suing to not have to be the donor anymore. So it kind of is along those storylines. So that's the main premise for it. So it jumps around for all these different characters, and I will say it was just a flop for me. Like, it was okay. I wanted to know what would happen, but for me, particularly the main character, it was Anna, who's the one who is suing to not have to give her kidney, is just, I feel like the author was trying to make you, like, feel for her and, like, be, like, super attached to her, but I don't feel like it was done well. Like, at the end, I was just kind of like, huh. And then the, like, twist or turn at the end of the book, I was just like, I feel like it was pushing and it was trying to make you, like, be sobbing and emotional and really sad. Like, it was trying to make it, like, devastating, but I didn't shed a tear. So maybe I'm dead inside, but, like, when I read Me Before You, if you guys have read that one by Jojo Moyes, I was sobbing like a baby, like hysterical sobs. Like, that book wrecked me. And this, I was just kind of like, huh. Like, it was fine. There were some cute parts, like, but I just couldn't, I didn't feel it. It wasn't for me. And this author's written a ton of books. Well, bless you, Madeline. This author's written a ton of books that, very well known, and I just don't have, I have another one. I have Keeping Faith on my shelf as well. But if it's anything like this, like, I don't want, like, this long, drawn-out saga to then, like, try to make me feel really sad. Like, it has to be well done, and I just don't feel like this was. So let me know if you've read this and if you agree or not. Should we do a spoiler section? Yeah, I'm going to actually do a spoiler section because I need to vent a little bit about this. So I'll write spoilers below, so just fast forward if you don't want spoilers on this book. So, the whole, like, killing of Anna at the end, like, Anna goes through this whole thing. It ends up, like, she didn't really want to do the lawsuit. She had to because Kate wanted to die and she wants to help Kate die, but she doesn't want to just tell her. Like, that whole thing, I was like, that's just stupid. Like, I don't think any 13-year-old girl would, like, do a lawsuit in order to not have to do this anymore. I think Anna would have just had a big fit and said, no, I'm not giving my kidney. And, like, that would have been a way quicker and more effective way to save Kate. And if Kate knows and wants you to do this, then you don't have to go through the whole saga of this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would be less harmful to your family, and you would be able to spend time with your sister and your family just saying, like, hey guys, I'm not doing it. Because, like they said, like, no one's gonna take an organ from a kicking and screaming teenager who's 13 and such that they don't want to. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not gonna happen. And, yeah, I just felt like the whole thing was, like, it just kind of was dumb. I just didn't believe, it wasn't believable to me. And I think this could have been done in a way that was believable, but this wasn't believable. And the way Anna talked, and she was like, back and forth, I was like, what's going on here? Like, I was just, and then, like, at the end, like, oh, let's just kill her off. Like, I don't know. I know it was supposed to make you feel sad, but I was just like, seriously? Like, you went through this whole saga, and now she's dead, and you're just gonna donate the kidney anyways, and now, oh, Kate wants to live, and, like, I mean, the redeeming quality was, I guess, that, like, Kate's happy and, like, lived, and Jesse got his act together, and, like, became a police cadet or whatever, and everything was fine, but, like, seriously? Like, this book was just, it was just not good. I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was done well. I didn't like it. So, yeah, I'm really torn if I will ever pick up a book by this author again. So if you've read this, let me know. Are all her books, like, pushing, like, just pushing for, like, the sadness, or is there, like, a little more depth to any of them? Because not feeling it. Okay, last but not least, so my other Ms. Remay book, Jude the Obscure. First of all, like, obviously this isn't gonna be a good book. Look at this guy's face. So this is a DNF for me, officially. I just decided today, I was like, I can't keep going on with Jude. And this is a bummer, because this is a group read for me, for Misery May. with Gemma Books and Big Hard Books and Classics, I think. Yeah, I don't think this will be a forever DNF for me. It's going back to the library for now. I actually think I will at some point pick this up because I want to know how this turns out. And it's about this, and I just don't want to know right now. So Jude is this guy, and he's like this kind of loner, and he reads and wants to go like work as a priest and go to university and has all these hopes and dreams, and then he gets married and makes a mistake and things all go from there, which a lot of us I think can relate to, getting married too young and making mistakes, but I just had a really hard time empathizing for Jude, so I made it halfway, and I was like taking notes and like tabbing things, and like I don't hate it. I just, at halfway through, I have to be invested in caring about the character, and you just don't care what happens to Jude. I know that things are not going to turn out well for him, just because this is the book chosen for Misery May, and it's supposedly one of the most miserable books ever. It's hard for me to empathize when I'm like, well, you're just making really poor choices, Jude, like, and like, learn from your mistakes, you know what I mean? Like, learn from your mistakes and make better choices. That's part of what life is about, right? Like, learn, course correct. And Jude just doesn't really course correct, and he's just kind of whiny and annoying. So, sorry, Misery May. I guess I just don't like miserable books. I like books that leave me feeling a little bit more optimistic. They don't have to be like bunnies and roses and stuff, but like, and if you're gonna be miserable, like, you have to make me care about it. Like, and a good example is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. Like, that book was kind of miserable, but I cared so much about the characters, and like, I was invested in rooting for them. Like, if you have a book that's miserable, there has to at least be something that makes me feel something other than, well, just stop making bad choices, you know what I mean? So that's what I've read. Now I have like this pile just sitting on my lap because I've been holding them onto them all. So let's put them down, and then we'll talk about what is happening now. Okay, so I do not have a TBR for June. I am catching up. There are books on my list from April that I have not read. There are books on my list from May that I have not read. There's books all over the place. So what I'm working on for June, I am very behind in my reading for The Count of Monte Cristo. I think I'm still in my April reading. So I have some definite catch up that I need to do for this. This is for the serialized book club where we have it broken down. You can see how much I'm supposed to read each month for that one. So I'm very behind. So I'm going to do some catch up on that for June. I am reading The Beast. So this is my book choice for my Read Around the World and Eat Around the World challenge. So I haven't talked a bit about this on my channel yet. I am vlogging about that, my journey reading this. This is my book choice from El Salvador, because the author is from El Salvador. So I'm working on that this month. And for June on the Range, I'm participating in the group read on MJ's channel over at Reading This Life, and I'm reading Lonesome Dove. And I'm actually really enjoying this so far. I'm not very far in. You can see my little bookmark is not very far, and this is a chunker. But I really knew nothing about this book. I remember Criminale talking about this like probably a year ago, that this was a book he read that he really enjoyed. I knew pretty much nothing about it except that it's a Western. And right after I heard him talk about it, I found it at Goodwill for super cheap. And then MJ had mentioned a few months back that she was going to read it for June on the Range, so I saved it for June. And surprise so far, it's very funny, and I was not anticipating that at all from like, I don't think I've ever read any like Western books, but it's pretty funny. It definitely has drawn me in, so that's what I'm working on now. And that's it. Those are like the plans. Like this needs to be finished. This needs to be finished in June, and then I'm gonna just chip away on past books that I haven't read. Still haven't read Wayward. Still haven't read The Man Who Died Twice, which I've talked about in both of my past TBRs. So those are going to be the next on my list. The kids are starting to chatter. So yeah, that's all. It feels so good to get out some of this feelings and thoughts I've been having about these books. I'm so thankful for the Booktube community and that it doesn't go away after you take a break. I'm excited to this week just to spend some time catching up on your channels as well, because I know people have been putting out great content and I can't wait to watch it. So that's all I have to talk about today. I hope you're doing well wherever you are. I hope you take some time today to read a good book or two, and if you're having a bad hair day, just wear a bandana. Bye.